Hey YouTubers, I want to talk about my Honda Ridgeline and why I'm such a huge fan of it. This is actually my second Ridgeline. Over the years, my wife and I have had a lot of different vehicles. We've had Fords, we've had Chevys, we've had Toyotas, we've had Nissans, we had a couple of Audis, we've had Volvos. I'm probably even leaving something out. But we've had 5 different Honda vehicles. And every single one of them has been absolutely reliable and the least problematic of any of the vehicles we've ever owned. I was driving an Audi and realized that I had the back seat down most of the time because I was carrying a lot of cargo, and realized that the Audi really didn't fit my lifestyle, that I was ready for a pickup truck. But a pickup truck in the traditional sense is overkill. I didn't want the terrible gas mileage. I like driving fast. That's why I like the Audis. They were both modified, so they were not stock. The idea of getting into a pickup truck with leaf springs and a bad ride and terrible mileage and difficult to park was not something that was very appealing to me. We had a Volvo station wagon at the time, which was very nice on the highway and offered good utility, but I needed even more cargo space than that. And so I took a look at the Honda Ridgeline. And my wife and I looked at one and we took it for a drive, and we were amazed at how well it rode and how solid it felt and how comfortable it was on the highway. And so I traded in my Audi, and boy did I take a beating. I got to tell you, the resales on the Audis are terrible. And we got our first Honda Ridgeline and we loved it. As a matter of fact, it became our road trip vehicle because it was so comfortable on the highway, and we loved that I could lock up stuff in the trunk when we're on vacation and not worry about it. Most people don't even know these things have a trunk. So we really loved that vehicle. That was a first generation Ridgeline. And actually I had it 4 years, and I did replace the battery and I put new tires on it, and I plan to keep it much longer. But then I took it to a Honda dealer for service, and one of the salesmen was looking at it when they had it on the lift, and he came in and he handed me a manila folder, and he says, "This is what we'll give you trade-in on your Ridgeline." And I thanked him for his time, but told him I wasn't interested. Well, I got to kind of thinking about it, and the new Generation 2 Ridgelines did look kind of nice. And I finally decided I'd go test drive a Generation 2. And everything that I loved about my original Ridgeline, the Generation 2 does, and then some, especially when it comes to comfort. And so I took them up on their offer. I got them to knock down a little bit on the new one. We got a very generous trade on the old one, and couldn't be happier. There's a number of accessories and modifications that I put on both Ridgelines that I highly recommend. I made myself a list because I don't want to leave anything out. First and foremost, I would not own a truck without a Bakflip hard tonneau cover. I've also made a small modification to that cover to help with the water sealing. No tonneau cover is completely watertight. The Bakflip allows water to leak in, and even with my modifications, some water does get in. But I might leave the truck parked out overnight, get a tremendous thunderstorm, open the bed and find that there's a couple of wet spots inside the bed, but no water puddles up anywhere. So when we travel on the road, as long as our luggage is not up against one of the sides, it stays dry. There's also your console has one giant cavity. You could almost fit a laptop in there, which is great if you have large items. I have a lot of little items, and they all sort of got jumbled up. And there's a company called OCD that makes a little organizer that takes that large compartment and divides it into 6 smaller compartments. And again, I had that in both vehicles. Absolutely love it. One of the things about installing any tonneau cover is your trunk lid doesn't open quite as much as it does without a tonneau cover. It opens plenty, but it's just not quite as much. And so I installed additional LED lights on the lid of the trunk so that I can see down into the trunk at nighttime when I open it much better than just the cargo lights inside the trunk casting a little bit of light down there into the trunk. I also added a tailgate lock to both trucks. On the first generation, the only way to get a lock on the tailgate was to go aftermarket. And I installed several of those, and they're kind of iffy. But in, I believe it was 2020, Honda added, finally, a tailgate lock to the tailgate from the factory. And I purchased that Honda lock and installed it on my 2018. And I've already made a video on that. I'll put a link to it below. So that's another must-have for me. A strange thing they did on the 2017s and 2018s, they went from a dual horn setup to a single horn, and it was really kind of weak. It's kind of a weak little meep meep horn, and that's not going to cut it on a pickup truck. If I blow the horn, it's for a reason. I want people to hear it. So there's a Honda dealership that sells parts on lines, and they made a little wiring harness that splits that wire that used to go to the single horn on the 2017 and 2018, splits it to two horns. You can certainly make one yourself, but it's $8 or $10, and it's nice just to buy it from them and not have to fool with it. I'll put a link in the description down below, but I did install aftermarket dual horns on this, and believe me, when I blow it, people hear it and they respond. So that's another upgrade I really recommend on these early Generation 2s. I also have the Honda all-season mats in here. I've had WeatherTech mats before, and the WeatherTech are great. And I will say this, the WeatherTech have better coverage behind the brake and gas pedal than the Honda mats do. I just really don't like the material the WeatherTech mats are made out of. It's a hard, plasticky material. It makes a tremendous amount of static electricity. I found that when I'm driving down the road, I could feel the hair on my legs standing on end, and when I would pull the mats out to clean them, the static charge was so strong that dirt and grass that was on the mats would leap up onto the bottom of the dashboard. The factory Honda all-weather mats are a softer rubber material, and even though they don't have the same extensive coverage the WeatherTech mats do, I much prefer them. And lastly, of course, it's got the factory Splashguards, another accessory I highly recommend. So I'm going to be doing additional videos on how I installed some of these accessories, but I wanted to give you an overview of what I think of the truck. And the things I didn't love about it, I've mostly fixed, like the tailgate and the wimpy horn. But I have to say the built-in navigation and entertainment system, it sounds great, but is very sluggish. It takes a long time sometimes to respond to commands. It's actually doing pretty well right now, but sometimes it sort of has to think about things before it responds. The other thing I don't like is these are some of the worst cup holders I've ever seen in a vehicle. The Honda Accord we have has little spring-loaded fingers around the perimeter, so when you put in a 12-ounce soda, the little fingers hold it tight. You put in a 32-ounce big gulp, the fingers kind of push back, and whatever you put in there, it holds it nice and tight. On the Ridgeline, they just put two holes here. And whatever you put in there, if it doesn't fill that hole completely, it rattles around, makes a lot of racket, and feels like it's going to tip over at any moment. So I'm going to look at the 2022s, and if the cup holders are improved, I'm going to see if I can retrofit them. But otherwise, I love this truck. It's 4 years old now, and I did buy an extended warranty from Honda. You don't have to pay what the first offer that they make you on this. I believe that they offered a Honda Care 8-year, 100,000 mile warranty, and their first offer was $1,900, and I said no thank you. And we went back and forth, and I'll have to check the paperwork, but I want to say I paid somewhere between $1,000 and $1,100 for the Honda warranty. So you can negotiate your warranty price as well as your vehicle price. And there are even some Honda dealers that will sell you a genuine Honda warranty over the internet. So you may buy your truck from one dealer and then buy your warranty from another dealer. And so my intention is to keep this for at least 8 years, so I went ahead and bought that extended warranty. So I hope you find this helpful. Like I say, I absolutely love this truck, and I'm looking forward to getting another one, but it'll be a few years before I do. I hope you find this helpful. Thank you.